Hello, my name is Melissa Holden, and I wanted to make a really quick little thought or video before I get dressed and ready to go get the kids. I was listening to various they're called talks. It's when people give speeches about topics, and I seem to notice a theme of something, but it's because we tend to notice what's what's pertinent to us at the time. I don't know how I feel about this. There's this turtleneck, and I like the color, but I don't really like things around my neck. But I suppose I should because my neck's so gross. But I'm not used to how it feels, and it makes my face look rounder. Anyway, sidetrack. Boop, jump back in topic. I shouldn't have looked over the cupboard over there. It made me start to think about that fudge that I was making. I wonder if it's ready. I'll look as soon as I'm done with this. Okay, so what was I thinking? I was noticing that the topic that they were talking about is, you think about truth, right? There was this one really good movie where the line says, "What truth is something that doesn't change. It'll be the same." And that's basically there. That was what I wanted to say. I noticed they didn't come out and say that, but that's what all the things are pointing at and saying. They're saying, well, what is true doesn't change, but the way you go about it changes. And I was just noticing that, and I was like, oh, so that people won't have to listen to all those different talks. I'll just take the important thing that I got out of them. And the important thing was, it doesn't matter where you get your truth. It's coming from the same source. Think about, like, air. Maybe that's not a good metaphor. But I'll tell you what I was thinking. My son always jokes about, he calls it oxygen. And I'm like, we don't really drink oxygen. We don't really breathe oxygen. It's high, there's a high oxygen content, but there's a lot of other things in air. And there was one show that was so good. If you ever have a chance to see, I can't remember what season. I think season 1. I don't remember what episode of the show is called Scorpions. And in it, there's this kid and he's trapped. And a rock falls on his leg and it crushes his leg and he can't get out, and the tide is coming in and he's going to drown. And so they're trying to tell him, well, it's asphyxiation that kills you. Your organs need oxygen. And there's this machine that they hook him up to, so that even though he gets drowned, his body will stay alive and still have enough oxygen. It'll have more than enough oxygen. There was another movie called Abyss. If you're old like me, you've seen, where they have to. It's like if you dive a lot or anything, you'll know you dive with different things that you breathe, and the people are so deep that they have the only thing they can breathe without having it cause damage or things where you get bubbles in your brain. What's that called? Aneurysms or something. They breathe liquid and your body rejects it, but you can actually breathe liquid because it might be harder to push through your body. I don't know, but it's not even that. It's just you need the oxygen. Anyway, back to the story with the kid, it's really hard for him, but he has to just go ahead and take a breath of water. The one guy's assuring him, it's okay, you're not going to die. You don't need to breathe the oxygen. Your organs are getting enough oxygen. Yeah, and that's easier to say than to actually do. I'm just going to tell you another story. It's funny how I start saying one thing and go on to another, but I do have another story. It's kind of funny. When I was in the hospital, and when you're having a baby and you go into labor, they put this belt on you and it's got a sensor on it. And it's supposed to sense your contractions. Well, I'll tell you what, they do not really work. They might work, usually. Anyway, And I was in a lot of pain because I was on Pitocin as well, because my delivery wasn't moving as along as quickly as it should. So my contractions were extremely painful and really hurting and stuff. And I look at the monitor and it shows on the TV screen, it has like this line, and if it peaks, if it goes beyond a certain point during contraction, that's a severe one. Well, none of mine, they were just making these little things, and I'm like, oh gosh, I was imagining, how horrible is this going to be? I don't think I'm going to be able to handle this, because that was almost more than I could take, and it wasn't even but just going beep. And I'm like, oh, this is terrible. And then the nurse, she wasn't checking on me at all. Finally, when the nurse came in to ask me how I was doing with pain, because I want to have a natural childbirth, that was my first child. Anyway, I told her, I said, well, I'm in a lot of pain. She goes, oh yeah, that's part of labor. Even though I'm not here, I'm watching you, and I know what you're going through. It's like, you do? And she says, yeah, I can see on the monitor, so no matter where I am, I'm watching your monitor, so I can see. And on the monitor, it's just giving little blips. And then she takes a look at me anyway, just as part of what she's doing. She's like, the monitor has come off and off. She says, those aren't your contractions. Apparently it had fallen off and was low. And even where it was reading that high. And when it got put back up on to where my contractions were happening, it was going off the chart, even at rest point. And she's like, oh, okay. Anyway, the reason I tell you that story is funny, because when people tell you, oh, your body's fine, you can breathe, you can go ahead, breathe the water, it won't hurt you. It's like easy for them to say, but they don't actually know. And that reminded me of that lady. She was saying, oh, I can see your contractions, I don't have to feel them. I know they're rough. I've been there before. Poor darling. She had no idea until she actually examined it and saw. And then she realized I was in my right mind to say that was really painful, because I was a cross-country runner, and I was used to doing, and I have 4 brothers, and I'm used to being beaten up and stuff, and I thought I could take it, but that was painful. I remember there was one point, I've never had that thought before, but I remember thinking at one point, it sure is good there's no weapons around here, because if I had a gun, I would shoot myself rather than go through this. It was that painful. It was funny because I have more stories popping into my head, and I'm not going to share them. I need to go put my makeup on and fix my hair and stuff, and decide if I can wear this or not. I don't think I can.